I am Toby Harper, a 35-year-old man living in a luxurious apartment in Manhattan, New York, a life that most people would call perfect. I have a stable job, a happy family, and a beautiful wife who is like a dream, but that very perfect life gradually became a gilded cage, causing both Lily, my wife, and me to fall into emptiness. We had been married for 6 years with 2 young children, Jacob, and there was nothing to complain about. Everything was stable and easy. Lily worked in the fashion design industry while I was a financial expert, a job that provided us with everything: this house, luxurious vacations, and a secure future. Every day we woke up, took care of the kids, went to work, came home, played with the kids, and then spent cozy evenings together. Our nights were also filled with affection. That was all I had ever wanted, but everything changed in a way that was hard to recognize. Lily began to change, and I didn't immediately realize it. When she met Charlotte Evans, a woman with a lifestyle completely different from Lily's, everything started to go off course. Charlotte was a prominent designer in the industry, very strong and free-spirited. She didn't have the family burdens that Lily did. Charlotte lived an unrestricted life where everything could be bought with money and charm. She pulled Lily into that world, and not long after, Lily began to change. She started going out later to events I couldn't follow. At first, it was just a few hours with her girlfriends from the design industry, but gradually Lily started coming home later, sometimes near dawn. Just a little gathering after work was the excuse she gave. Then she came home tired, emitting a strange smell, the scent of cigarettes and something I couldn't quite identify. But I didn't say anything. I just thought she was too tired from work and needed some space to relax. We could still laugh together every night before going to sleep. She still smelled like before when we would entwine ourselves in the long nights. I trusted Lily. That was the problem. I trusted her too much. One weekend, while I was reviewing the company contracts, Lily's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I was curious, but not in a suspicious way, more in the way of a husband wanting to know what his wife was up to during the hours she was out without me. The message wasn't anything special, just a meeting arrangement with Charlotte. But there was something that made me uneasy. Lily was always careful. She wouldn't leave signs like this if something was off. But why did I feel something was wrong? The next day, I noticed something odd. Lily came home later than usual, but this time it wasn't just the smell of cigarettes on her. This time there was a strange scent, a pungent fragrance like a heavy men's cologne. When Lily entered the bedroom, I tried to do nothing. She undressed and went into the bathroom, and then the words she told me a few months ago echoed in my mind. I just need to shower because of the cigarette smell from my friends. After Lily finished showering, I didn't say anything, but in my mind a wave of suspicion began to rise. I touched her phone while she wasn't looking, checking the messages. Messages from Adrian Carter, a wealthy man Lily had met at a fashion event a few months ago. And then I saw it. I don't know how many nights you've spent out there, but just know I miss you. You are everything to me. Adrian wasn't just a friend. He was trying to take my wife. When I closed the phone and looked at Lily, I realized I couldn't bear this betrayal any longer. I needed to know the truth, and I wouldn't let it slide easily. That night, when Lily entered the room, I pointed at her and said, I know what you've been doing. I know you're cheating." She froze. We stared at each other for a few seconds. Lily's eyes no longer sparkled like they used to. She just lowered her head. Then she smiled, a smile I had never seen from her. That smile was cold, as if she had been preparing for this moment all along. Toby, I couldn't hide it from you forever. You have the right to know, but you also need to understand that I don't want to keep this anymore. I need freedom. And that's when I understood Lily wasn't just cheating. She had decided to leave me. But I wouldn't let her go like this. I didn't know what to do. At that moment, Lily stood there facing me, her eyes no longer holding the love I had once seen. Instead, there was an incomprehensible coldness. She didn't look at me like the loving husband anymore, but like something else, a person with no connection left. She had given up on me already, and that was as clear as daylight. Toby, I don't love you anymore. That was the first thing Lily said after I discovered the truth. At that moment, I couldn't utter a single word. The words I had imagined saying when I found out about this betrayal suddenly didn't mean anything anymore. All I felt was numbness in my heart, as if my heart had been stabbed deep with a knife and I couldn't pull it out. I know you're cheating, I said, my voice no longer calm. Lily only sighed, not at all surprised. She seemed like she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Toby, you're still so naive. I'm not just cheating. I don't want to live this life anymore. You can't keep me forever like this. Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. I could feel the coldness in her voice. Yes, she no longer loved me. She didn't want to be with me anymore. I was a shadow of myself in her eyes, and the one who replaced me was Adrian, the man Lily had so freely praised in the text messages the night before. He was what she wanted. That whole night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my office, silent, drowning in the feeling of betrayal. What I had thought was a perfect life now confronted me with a harsh reality. My wife was no longer mine. The next evening, Lily went out. She wore the short dress I knew she loved, the one I had always seen her wear, when she wanted to impress someone. I didn't say anything when she left. Only one thought filled my mind. I will not let her go so easily. As she disappeared from view, I decided to do something I had never thought I would do. I would follow her. I hailed a cab and followed Lily. The feeling inside me at that moment wasn't that of a loving husband anymore. I felt like a detective, an enemy silently trailing my prey. Lily stopped in front of an upscale building, one I didn't recognize. She walked inside and I stood a few steps away observing. A sleek car pulled up beside Lily and Adrian stepped out. He smiled and warmly greeted her. That was the smile Lily had given me thousands of times before, but now that smile was for someone else. I stood still, unable to believe my eyes. We had shared everything with each other. I had loved her so much, and now she was giving to another man what she had once given to me. When I got back home, the anger and humiliation turned into determination. I can't let her go like this, I told myself. I couldn't just stand by and watch her walk away with another man without doing anything. I needed to act. In the following days, I became strangely busy. I ignored work, skipped important meetings, and focused on one thing only: plotting my revenge. I knew Lily would never imagine what I was going to do. She thought of me as a weak husband, someone who had no backbone. But I would show her that I wasn't weak. I would make her regret betraying me, and I would make Adrian pay for sneaking around with my wife. I couldn't let this deception continue without a face-to-face confrontation. I went to a bar where Adrian often went, a place where he always sat in a corner where the light didn't shine much. When I walked in, I saw him immediately. He was sitting with a group of friends, laughing and chatting, but his eyes immediately turned to me. "What can I do for you?" Adrian asked. his tone full of arrogance. I didn't answer right away, but walked over and sat down across from him. I don't know what you think about my wife, but I'm not going to let you keep taking advantage of her. Adrian laughed loudly, but I could see hesitation in his eyes. He hadn't expected me to know everything. You can't keep her. She doesn't belong to you anymore, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. That's what you think, but I'll make you regret doing this to me, I replied, my voice cold. I knew I needed more time to prepare. I wouldn't let this revenge be just a fit of anger. I would make her regret disrespecting me, and if necessary, I would use Adrian as an example for others. I spent the entire week planning every move, carefully calculated. Lily had hurt me in ways I couldn't forget. She had betrayed me, not just with Adrian, but with everything we had built together. I needed to make her realize that things were not as simple as she thought. I didn't want to just take revenge in a spontaneous way. I wanted to make Lily live with the regret for the rest of her life. And I would do that not through violent actions, but by making her realize she had lost everything that mattered. Lily continued her late work nights and meetups with Adrian. She thought I wouldn't do anything, but I was not the weak husband she thought I was. I didn't just follow Lily, I also investigated Adrian. I used every connection and resource I could to learn about this man, Adrian Carter, a wealthy man full of power in the finance world. He was not just a successful investor, but also a very intelligent person with the ability to hide his secrets. I needed to find his weakness. This time, I didn't go to the bar where he usually hung out. I chose a fancy restaurant that I knew he frequented. I had studied his habits carefully. I wanted to talk to him directly, and I needed to make him feel a little uneasy. When I entered the restaurant, Adrian was sitting there in the chair he always sat in, wearing an expensive suit and a luxury watch on his wrist. He saw me and raised an eyebrow, but there was no sign of surprise. "Toby, I didn't think you'd come here again," Adrian laughed, his voice full of provocation. I didn't let myself get provoked. I stayed calm, composed, and said, "I'm not here to chat with you, Adrian. I'm here to tell you that if you continue to hurt my family, I will make you pay." His eyes flashed with discomfort, but instead of getting angry, Adrian laughed. "You can't do anything to me, Toby. You have no power." I didn't respond right away, but just smiled. I had everything I needed, and I knew what I would do next. Lily had gone to bed after a long day. I quietly walked into my office. I had gathered enough information about Adrian and his relationships with those around him. I learned that he had some shady connections, relationships that, if exposed, would destroy his career and reputation. Using the videos, images, and information I had gathered from Adrian and Lily's encounters, I created an anonymous account and posted the information online. But it didn't stop there. I didn't just want to take Adrian down, I wanted Lily to see what she had done. I wanted her to realize that the price for betrayal was never cheap. The next day, when Lily came home after a long night, I knew she would show signs of failure. I didn't say anything, just watched her as she walked into the room. She didn't look at me, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She knew that everything couldn't go back to how it was before. Lily went into the bathroom, and I heard the shower turn on. During that time, I walked in and looked at her phone. She had received a notification about the information I just posted. A message from Adrian appeared. She skimmed through it, and soon after, I heard her sigh from the bathroom. I did nothing, just stood there waiting. When Lily came out, she looked at me, her eyes full of confusion and fear. She knew what I had done. "What did you do?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. "Don't you see? You've lost everything, Lily," I said, my voice cold, without a trace of sympathy. "Adrian, everything you've done, it all has a price." Lily didn't answer, just stood there, her eyes filled with tears. She knew that her life would never be the same again. She had lost the most valuable thing in her life, her family. That whole night, I didn't sleep. I prepared everything for the next step in my plan. Lily would regret this, and I wouldn't let Adrian escape from his responsibility. This was the revenge I had prepared for a long time. Nothing would end until I achieved my goal. The feeling of regret in Lily's eyes that night was unforgettable. She stood there silent, but I could see the defeat in every movement of hers. She knew that I had everything to destroy her life, and all she had done couldn't be undone. I looked at Lily coldly, with no sympathy. This was not the time for me to feel guilty or sorry for her. From now on, everything would change. I had given her too many chances to fix things, and now I had decided to end it all. I couldn't let this betrayal go without consequences. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of betrayal. Now I would step out and make her realize that what she had done wouldn't be easily forgotten. The next day, I didn't say anything to Lily. She went out with a pale face, her eyes tired and empty. She knew that I was preparing something, but she didn't know what it was. She still hadn't realized that I would never forgive her. I decided not to waste any more time. Everything had to be finished as soon as possible. I needed to make Adrian know that he couldn't get away with this without paying a price. I would make him pay dearly. That night I met Adrian once again. This time I didn't go to a bar or a fancy restaurant. I went to an area where Adrian wouldn't think I would show up, a quiet place outside the city where only those who wanted to do dirty work would go. I knew he wouldn't refuse this meeting. He considered himself the winner, the one above everyone else, and I had seen enough. I couldn't let him think he would win. When I walked in, Adrian was sitting there, not surprised at all, only a smug smile on his face. He still hadn't realized the threat I was bringing. He thought he had won, but I would show him that he was just a pawn in this game. "You don't know who you're up against?" I said, my voice firm and sharp. Adrian shrugged. "You think I'm scared?"
"Of anything. You can't do anything to me." His voice was full of confidence, without a hint of fear. "You're wrong," I replied, stepping closer. "I will show you what revenge looks like."
He couldn't react fast enough as I pulled out the information I had collected about him, the documents, the images, and the videos I had carefully captured from the events he attended, the not-so-pure gatherings I knew he had tried to keep hidden. I wouldn't just expose him, I would make sure there was nowhere left for him to hide. He would have to face everything he had been concealing. I sent the materials to a few people in the media. The price Adrian would pay wouldn't just be personal, embarrassment. That night, when I returned home, everything had changed. Lily was no longer who she once was. She wasn't the wife I had loved anymore. She walked into the house with a worn-out expression. She had seen the news about Adrian, and now she was realizing the consequences of her betrayal. "What have you done, Toby?" she said, her voice trembling. I didn't answer right away. She no longer had the right to ask me these questions. "I've made Adrian lose everything," I said, my eyes no longer showing affection. "Now he will have nothing, and so will you." Lily looked at me, her eyes filled with tears, and I knew she had realized something important. She had lost everything, and now she would have nothing but loneliness. The next day, I prepared for the final step in my plan. I had done everything I needed. The images and videos I had posted didn't just tarnish Adrian's reputation. I also sent them to those closest to Lily, the people she thought were her friends. But now they knew all the secrets she had been hiding. Lily could no longer live as she once did. She couldn't go back and fix everything. I had made her pay, and she would never forget her betrayal. As for Adrian, now he had nothing but a life under threat, losing everything he had built. Both of them would never return to the lives they once had. When I looked at Lily for the last time, I knew I had won. The feeling of satisfaction didn't come from making her regret it, but from reclaiming control of my life. And most importantly, I had taught her and Adrian a lesson they would never forget. Revenge is a dish best served cold. The feeling when I woke up in the morning, knowing everything had changed forever, was hard to put into words. My apartment no longer had the liveliness of laughter, no more cozy dinners, only emptiness. Lily was still there, but she wasn't the wife I had once loved. She was living in regret, and I knew that, but it didn't matter anymore. Everything I had done wasn't to bring Lily back. I didn't need her anymore. I didn't need to forgive the betrayal. I just needed to feel that I had done the right thing, that I had returned the justice that had been taken from me. My revenge wasn't just to regain control. It was also a reminder that no one could deceive me without paying the price. Everything started to have consequences right away. The next day, when I woke up, I received a call from Adrian's lawyer. He demanded that I retract the information I had publicly posted and warned me I would face legal action. But I just chuckled. I had been prepared for this for a long time. I had anticipated every possibility, and I knew the law and my power well. He couldn't do anything to me. I decided not to answer the call. Instead, I continued with what I had started. That day, Lily came home later than usual. She wasn't talkative anymore. She just went to the bathroom, undressed, and sat in silence. I knew she had realized the shift in our relationship. I was no longer the husband she once knew. I was no longer the one who would forgive her, no longer the one who would tolerate her betrayal. Lily came out of the bathroom, walking toward me. She didn't dare look at me anymore. I knew she still loved me, but that love wasn't enough for
her to come back to me. She lost too much, and now she had to live with the choices she had made.
I was no longer the one who could save her. That night, I decided to meet Charlotte, Lily's close friend. She was the one who had pulled Lily into this vicious cycle from the start. Charlotte wasn't someone I was going to overlook, and I wouldn't allow her to continue living in the shadows, evading the consequences of her actions. I went to meet Charlotte at an upscale bar she frequented. I didn't go to accuse her. I just wanted her to know that things weren't as simple as she thought. She had helped Lily change, and now I was going to show her the price that had to be paid. When I walked into the bar, she was sitting in a corner, the dim light making her sharp eyes even more dangerous. Charlotte saw me and smiled challengingly. "What are you here for? To talk about Lily?" she asked, her tone odd, as if I wasn't worth her attention. "No," I replied coldly. "I'm here to tell you that things won't be as you think. I'm not going to let you keep pulling Lily into these games." Charlotte took a deep breath and looked at me, her expression full of arrogance.
"Toby, you don't get it. She wanted to do it. She did it willingly."
She shrugged. "Everyone has the right to do what they want." "She doesn't have a choice anymore," I said, my voice firmer than ever. "You and Adrian have ruined her life, and you will have to face what you've caused." Charlotte fell silent, not reacting, but I could see a hint of concern in her eyes. She knew that I had played all my cards. In the days that followed, I noticed Lily wasn't coming home as late anymore. She started changing, but not because of me, but because she realized that everything she had done no longer mattered. She realized she had lost what was most important. The calls from friends, the long nights out there, no longer held the same allure. Lily knew she had chosen the right path, but the value of it wasn't the freedom she had hoped for. It was loneliness.
Eventually, I no longer saw Lily. She had moved out of this apartment, found another place to live where she could start over.
I didn't try to stop her. I didn't need her presence anymore. That relationship was over, and I was no longer the one to follow. The memories we had, Lily would have to live with the decisions she made. As for me, I had learned a lesson. Months later, I received a message from Lily. She said she had met someone new, someone who would make her feel like nothing had ever happened, but I didn't care anymore. I had ended our story a long time ago. What I needed was not her, but the freedom to be myself. I no longer feared betrayal or disappointment. I had been through it all, and now I was the one controlling my own life.